In this video, I'm going to show using the background eraser tool to touch up an area of an extraction that was extracted with the image extract panel. Now the area we're going to be touching up are these little white spots showing through the hair. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see those a little bit better. Now there's multiple ways to do pretty much anything in Photoshop, and with touching up your mask, for sure there's several ways. And in the last video, I demonstrated the same image using the select and mask. And with this video, we'll be doing the background eraser. I'm going to show you the differences between these two tools. And the one main difference being that one works in the mask and the other works directly on the image. So if you decide to use the background eraser tool, often this tool is a little bit faster to use, which is the reason why I would choose this tool. And you can select the tool in the Photoshop panel, or you can just click on the background eraser button here, and this button will go select the tool for you, and it's also going to select the image extract layer, and it selects the layer itself, not the mask. So if you're on the mask and you click this, you see that it selects the layer, and this tool is actually going to work directly on the layer. Now, how this tool works is the center part of the brush. Now you can size this brush up or down, by the way, with the left or right brackets. But the center part of the brush is the color that it samples, and then it looks to erase that same color within the circle. And before you use this tool, you want to set the options. And the sample method, use sample once, which is the middle one here. For limits, use discontiguous. And for tolerance, usually 25 to 30% somewhere for elastolite or white screen is pretty much what you want. Although you can increase that sometimes too, or decrease as necessary. Now, when you sample, keep in mind that this tool will sample the layer as if it was not masked out. So if we disable the mask, oh, and also what you're seeing there, that's the color correction layer. But if you run this tool, it's going to sample this layer as you're looking at it here, as if this mask was not applied. Also as if this color fix was not applied as well. So when you're looking at the image like this, instead of trying to click in these little slivers of white, which you might miss and hit the hair color, you can come click outside of that, and you don't have to cover all of the white. You can be outside, but click where you know it's white on the screen, and click and drag into the image, and then you can see it erasing those areas. If it leaves a little bit of a fringing, you can also undo that and increase the tolerance. So let's try 40% here. And then click and drag. And that did a little bit better job there. One thing is if you set this too high, I'm going to undo that again and show you what can happen if you set it too high. Now you can see that we're erasing part of the hair that we don't want to. And if we hide this colored background, you can really see that hair being made transparent. So I'm going to undo that. So again, if you see that happen, just turn your tolerance down. In this case, 40% worked pretty good. And once you find a value that works for your images, you can use that same value in your other images as well. So I did the touch up over here as well on this side, and you can see that looks pretty good. Now that's often quicker than using the select and mask, but the one disadvantage here is it's working in a destructive manner. And let me show you what I mean by that. Now looking at just the layer itself with the mask disabled, you can see that the background eraser actually erased the foreground, or on the foreground image itself, it did the erasing instead of doing it in the mask. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But the end result, if you're just wanting to do a quick touch up and then your end goal is to merge it into a single layer, this works perfectly fine, because once you merge into a single layer, you see it's just like as if you use a selected mask. You see no difference once that's in a single layer. However, if you want to have your mask to touch up non-destructively, if you're doing an image that's more challenging and you want to retain that information in this foreground, you see that it's not actually made any effect on this mask. And so if you wanted to make a selection by mask, for example, now, by control clicking on the mask, you see that these areas that we touched up are not being included in the mask selection. As well as if we use one of these other tools here, like select mask plus 2 pixels, we're not seeing those areas accounted for that we touched up, because when we use the background eraser, it didn't apply on the mask, it applied on the main image. I hope that makes sense. Let me demonstrate this with selected mask instead, so I can show you the difference here. So we could do these same touch-ups on selected mask. And then if we control click on the layer, now you can see that we've got those marching ants inside because those selection areas are now being accounted for. And the reason why is because when we use selected mask, we affected the mask and not the main image. Now you can see that that tool was a little bit aggressive. I wasn't very careful how I did that because it's a quick demonstration for the video. But nonetheless, you can see that selected mask, it changes the transparency by working on the mask itself and not the image. And we can see if we disable the mask, if you remember, I'm going to undo the selection here. So I've got the mask disabled, and you can see that we have all of the foreground left. And if you remember with the background eraser tool, when we disabled the mask, we had those areas that were erased directly on the image itself because it was working destructively, whereas the selected mask, unlike the background eraser tool, works non-destructively in the mask. I hope that makes sense, but in any case, if you don't understand all of that, just know that it doesn't matter if your only goal is to make a basic touch-up. I'll do this one more time. So you say, okay, this is going to be an easy touch-up with background eraser. You select that, do your eraser tool as you want, and then hit merge. If that's the only thing you need to do, then feel free to use that background eraser and then merge it because you're going to get the same end result. Anyways, thanks for watching, and be sure to watch the other videos as well because I go through more touch-up scenarios in the other videos.